So Erik ten Hag has been sacked as manager of Manchester United, and currently all signs seem to point to Portuguese coach Ruben Amorim taking over as the head of the club. But how well will he do? There's no way of knowing, or is there? Because we're going to be using Football Manager to see just how well he can do at the club. Now here he is in FM, he's got some pretty good attributes actually for a coach who is only 39 years of age, and as you can see, he is liking a 5-back system. His preferred formation is a 5-2-3, so it'll be interesting to see how this translates to Manchester United's squad and if he maybe differs from what he's used to playing. Now of course that means we had to let Erik ten Hag go and make him an unemployed manager, but before I went ahead to do the Amorim tests, I thought it would be best to have a baseline to compare him to. So I ran 3 different simulations where Erik ten Hag stayed at Manchester United to see how well he did so we could compare him to that, but unfortunately it didn't quite go to plan, because in test number 1 he got sacked on the 4th of November due to the club's bad league position, and it would have been hard to blame the United board because if you have a look in October leading up to his sacking, he lost 3 games, drew 1 and did not score a single goal in any of those matches. So in that first test he lost his job in November, but what about the second test? Well, in this one he got sacked again in November. Yes, he lasted about 25 more days, but it wasn't much longer than he did the first time. He was sacked once more, so there really isn't much for Amorim to go up against here. And again, I think United might have been justified in their decision because he had won 8 games up until November, lost 7 and drew 5, so it wasn't looking promising. So at this point it seems pretty set that Erik ten Hag was never going to be a success at United, but I promised 3 tests and well, you can guess what happened in test 3. That's right, Erik lost his job again, and it was once again in November. So I know Man U jumped the gun in real life by going just at the end of October, but it just shows you FM can be scarily accurate sometimes. Although saying that, this one seemed pretty harsh because in November United were playing pretty well, and it was after a draw at home against Ipswich following the back of 4 straight wins when he got sacked. So that's a little bit harsh, but clearly it wasn't going to work with Erik. But what about Ruben Amorim? Well, I've got 3 seasons with Amorim to see how well he'd do, so let's start with his first year at the club. Well, the Premier League table already looks promising because after 1 season as manager, the Portuguese coach has helped guide the club to a 4th place finish, a Champions League finish. Now he is miles away from eventual winners Arsenal at the top of the league, but he only drew 3 games all season, the least of any club in the division. He got 13 losses, 22 wins and a goal difference of 27, securing top 4 by 6 points. Now Amorim's team weren't exactly the most prolific, but they were one of the better goal scorers in the division, scoring the same as eventual title winners Arsenal with 65. But it was defensively where the club really shored themselves up. Yes, 4th place again, but they conceded the same amount as Man City and only 1 more goal than Liverpool, so whilst Arsenal's defence was a lot stronger, they definitely had one of the best defences in the division. Gone were the counter-attacking days of United's past because this time round Amorim had the club as one of the best teams in possession in the league, only Arsenal and Man City having a better average possession. And clearly he's had an impact because the team kept the most clean sheets in the division, the same as Liverpool. Now as you can see here from this match against Leicester, Amorim was deploying that back 5 system that the game suggests would be his favoured tactic. And because it was a 3-back defence, there was a surprising resurgence for Victor Lindelof, who played pretty much every single match all season, only missing 2 and being a main part of his defence. Now he also made some transfers at the club in his first season, but bear in mind it won't be too extreme because most of the club's transfers have technically already been done. But in January he did let go of Tyrell Malacia, who he sold to AC Milan for 23 million, clearly not seen as part of a system that he could use. And then quite surprisingly, Mason Mount was loaned out to Real Madrid with an option in that loan to be bought for 49 million, which Real Madrid have activated. So yeah, Mason Mount has moved to Real Madrid, clearly not an Amorim player. But who did the club bring in? Well, actually quite a few players. Before the summer window was even up the first time round, Ruben Amorim clearly didn't fancy the strikers at the club and bought in Pedro, the Brazilian international 27-year-old who he signed from Flamengo for 21 million. He loaned in Atletico Madrid's Rodrigo Riquelme to operate on that left wing back spot. Another centre-back was added to the ranks with Hungarian 23-year-old Martin Darde signing from Hertha Berlin for 6 mil. Again, clearly more reinforcements were needed to play this back 3 at United, a club that struggles to field 2 centre-backs anyway with all their injury problems in real life. Kylian Sardella was signed, the Belgian under-21 international coming from Anderlecht for 23 million quid. And they also added this guy to the ranks on the wing, Herberto Gerardo. Don't know too much about him, but they spent 5 million on him from the Mexican leagues. Now, considering everything we saw with Erik ten Hag being sacked 3 times in a row, Amorim clearly had a positive impact. In fact, he won the first 4 games of the season, only conceding a goal. When he got some tougher tests, he did start to lose the odd match, but there were some great results in there. I mean, a 3-1 beating of Chelsea was definitely one of the high points, followed by a win against Newcastle and an away win against Spurs. Yes, they did lose to Man City, both home and away, but they kept the scoreline relatively low. They also beat Arsenal 3-1 at the Emirates, beat Chelsea 3-1 at Stamford Bridge, and despite a very poor February, overall, I think they can definitely take this as a positive season. So season 1 is clearly an improvement under Amorim, but now can he push on? Can he help compete for that Champions League now that he's in it? And can he maybe make a push for the title? Let's see what he did in season 2. Well, clearly he's doing something right, because after 2 years at the club, he is still here as manager of Manchester United, so he hasn't been sacked the way Erik ten Hag was, but he might have been cutting it close, because his team have actually declined this season, finishing in 7th place, 59 points. He got way less losses than before, but way more draws, 14 in fact. I think there was only 3 last season, so a crazy difference there, and 3 goal difference overall is pretty poor from a United team that would have way higher hopes than this. And the club seems to have sunk into its same issues that it's had in real life. Goal scoring wise, we were nowhere to be seen. We were the 12th best team in terms of scoring goals, and defensively we weren't exactly one of the best teams either, so it's not like we can counterbalance them and say, oh, at least they were strong defensively, even though they weren't scoring too many goals. So maybe Amorim isn't the right man for the job after all, according to FM. Saying that, he definitely went through spells. I mean, when the season started, he did not win any of the first 6 games. In fact, he drew 3 and lost all of the others. Then he picked up some form, lost it again, and then started to steady the ship a little bit later on, because I imagine after this period in October, his job would have definitely been on the line, but he kept it going. Things got better as the season went on, so I imagine he is on shaky ground currently, and I don't exactly think the transfers that he's made have helped him. Interestingly, he loaned out Anthony to West Ham, who he's going to be joining permanently. That transfer in itself might have been okay, but signing Pedro last season only to loan him out to Aston Villa, that seems weird to me. It feels like a panic buy on United's part. And then loaning out Mazraoui as well, someone that I thought might actually suit that right wing back role, definitely would have been useful. He loaned him out to Bayer Leverkusen for the season and got no use out of him. So you think maybe he's brought in some real top players that mean he can let these guys go? I don't quite think so. He brought in an attacking midfielder in the form of Valentin Carboni on loan from Inter Milan, who will be joining permanently. A good player at 21 and looks like a very good talent actually, but is it what United needed? Maybe, maybe not, but to let go of Mazraoui and then bring in Augustin Guy as your starting right wing back, I found strange. He only played 12 times actually across the course of the season, signing for 11 million from Palmeiras in Brazil. Again, I don't really know if this is the right move to take United forward, and whether this was Amorim or the board, I'm not too sure, but clearly it's not working out. They also spent £40 million on Estanis Pedrola, the Spanish 22-year-old who they signed from Sampdoria, played him 22 times, 13 times as a starter, scored 2, assisted 2, not too bad, but quite a lot of money for a left winger who probably doesn't start over Garnacho. And Rodrigo Riquelme, who was in on loan last season, has been signed permanently. When it comes to goals, we only had one player in the top 20 goal scorers in the league, and that was Rasmus Højlund, doing pretty well with 17. Clearly no major creators in this 5-back tactic that Amorim's playing. It seems quite defensively based, at least in FM, because nobody even featured on the top 20 assist makers. One interesting stat is Luke Shaw having the most key passes for Manchester United. Maybe he is suiting that left wing back role quite well, although saying that, he's not exactly playing amazing. One man that does seem to be getting some joy with Amorim though is Marcus Rashford, who in both seasons has done pretty well, got good average match ratings, created a lot from the left, and is one of the better players in the league at the minute. If you're wondering about the Champions League as well, the club went out at the first knockout round, losing to Benfica in penalties, and pretty poetically, Angel Di Maria scored the goal for them. So we're 2 years in with United here, no trophies won, the club has seemingly gone backwards, the transfers don't look great, and Amorim's system isn't exactly getting the players playing at the best level. Season 1 was good, Season 2 not so much. Is he going to have the 3-year curse where he loses his job after 3 seasons, or is he going to recover it in Season 3? Let's see. Well, we've had to take a pause because towards the end of the 3rd season, as you can see, I spotted the United job was up for grabs. Amorim is no longer United manager, and Thomas Frank, the Danishman, has stepped in as the head of the club. And as you can see, Ruben Amorim is a free agent. He was sacked, so let's take a look look at what happened to him in his milestone section. He was sacked as manager in March of his 3rd season due to the club's poor league form. And I'd say this is a little bit harsh because he is sitting in 6th place, yes, pretty close to 9th place, only 2 points away from him, but he had Bruno Fernandes getting the most assists, Højlund with the most goals. He was getting a tune out of the team. And actually, if you look at the results, yes, it was a bit hit and miss, but I mean, October was brilliant, winning most of their matches, lost a few key games in November, then recovered it slightly, lost it again towards this January period, at which point I imagine he was put on his last legs. He won some games, but the game where he lost his management position was after beating Watford 3-1. He played Nottingham Forest and lost 3-0 away at the City ground, and that was the nail in the coffin. Based on the average match ratings and the fact he was injured, it looks like Andre Onana played with an injury and caused the team to concede 3. Now you might notice that since then, a new manager has came in, won 3-0, 3-0, 1-0 and 4-0. So maybe United have missed the trick with not bringing in Thomas Frank. So there you go, our test with Ruben Amorim led to him being sacked in his 3rd year with no trophies, no real success on the pitch, no players really built up to a super high level. It doesn't seem like it's going to work according to Football Manager, but hey, it's just a game, it could be wrong, but we'll keep our eyes out. In 3 years' time, if you see Ruben Amorim get sacked on the 2nd of March, you'll know FM got it right first.